What's going on, everyone? ODC here, and I'm back with another action figure review. Today's review, we're going to take a look at the Star Wars Black Series Last Command box set. This is a 4-pack. Comes with essentially 2 re-releases in Jade and Jedi Luke Skywalker from, Return of the Jedi. The final duel scene. He's got his little flap down in the front. It does not come with the other piece to fill in, so he's kind of doesn't have the flap down. It just comes with what you see here is pretty much almost all of what you get. We'll get to the accessories and everything in the meantime. Let's talk about the box set, because for me, this was very highly anticipated. I still love a lot of the Legends stories. I grew up reading them, so I guess I'm guilty by association, because I grew up liking them and enjoying them, and this was the true continuation to me, and still really is the true continuation for me for from episode 6 and then into Dark Empire. There's other stories I enjoyed, like Shadows of the Empire. I've made that widely known that I enjoy a lot of Legends stuff. It's a little goofy at times, sure, but I mean, half of what Disney puts out is goofy. So Mara Jade, like I said, there is some differences between her first release and this release. As far as Jedi Luke, he is essentially just the Return of the Jedi re-release, like I said, without the chest piece that's removable to insert. And then we've got Joruus C'baoth, and he is a clone of the original Joruus C'baoth. That's why he's got 2 U's in his name. And same thing goes for Luke. He's got 2 U's in his name. Apparently, whenever you're a clone, you get an extra letter in your name, so people know that you're a clone. I guess that's the dead giveaway, the big spoiler. But if you haven't read The Last Command, it is the final excerpt or addition to the Thrawn trilogy. In case you didn't know, it started with Heir of the Empire, then Dark Force Rising, and then this was the completion to that, which was The Last Command. Joruus C'baoth, as far as he goes, he is a clone of a Jedi, a deceased Jedi. Luke, as far as how Luke was created and why he has a blue lightsaber, or Anakin's, or, Luke's passed down saber, because he was created from the severed hand that was holding said lightsaber when it was decapitated in Empire Strikes Back by Darth Vader. So that's pretty much what happened. The Empire had collected his hand and his hilt, and pretty much that's what you see here. And then after the story spoilers, in case you haven't read it, just fast forward through this part. At the end, after Luke and Mara Jade defeat Luke, the clone, he actually gives Mara Jade his lightsaber, and it's kind of passed down to her, and then she goes to the purple one, and it's a whole thing after that. But yeah, I think the big coups for the 4-pack, if you're into Legend stuff, is probably Joruus C'baoth and Luke. There are some reused parts with Luke. I believe the upper torso, and we're going to get to it. You know what? Let me just start fiddling with these figures. And we'll start with probably the least favorite out of the box set. And that's unfortunate, because I really, 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 really like the figure. Let me get him out of frame as well. It's probably the Return of the Jedi Luke Skywalker. Let me shed a little bit more light here. There we go. And I love this figure. It's still one of my favorite Black Series figures as far as how they fix the head. I think the head sculpt is far better. I think the paint apps are far better than the original. And I'll do a little comparison with a bunch of different Jedi Lukes and stuff like that. But I think the head is definitely better. Let me zoom in here a little bit. Let me get in a little bit closer here. This is a really nice look for Luke. It's still, to this day, I think the most iconic look for him. For me, at least, it really showed his, I think, growth into becoming the Jedi Knight and then Jedi Master down the road and then Grand Master down the road. The kind of the beginnings of, I think, you know, like, I don't know. First time I ever saw Luke in this outfit, I was like, I took him a lot more seriously, where in the first movie, you could tell he was a little wet behind the ears, and then by the Empire Strikes Back, you could tell he's not quite there yet. You know, I still felt like, you know, he's been training and stuff like that. And that was, to me, Bespin Luke was always training gear Luke. And then when you got to Return of the Jedi, it was like, okay, now this guy is a force to be reckoned with. He's powerful, far more powerful indeed from Empire Strikes Back to Return of the Jedi. And he's got a different lightsaber now, and I love that. I don't know. This will always hold a special place in my heart as far as this look for Luke, and it showed because it's probably one of the most popular looks for him. And on top of that, I want to say it's definitely used heavily in, you know, the Legends comics and stuff like that, and then still used to this day in some sort of variation. But he does come with his green lightsaber. Let's see here. That in the comics, I believe, he actually didn't have a lightsaber crystal. And if you followed Shadows of the Empire, he actually had to make a synthetic crystal, I believe. And that's why it was green. That was the original tale as to why it was green. I tend to like the story of he kind of took Qui-Gon's saber and Obi-Wan's saber and kind of melded them together, and then he got his green saber from the Qui-Gon saber. That's kind of what I've always liked as far as my own lore. But anyway, and it just made sense as far as the design too. It's very reminiscent to Obi-Wan's saber in a certain way. Except for, you know, the activator is very large, and the top of the hilt is very vase display. As I always thought it was like a vase. But anyway, that's the lightsaber. It does have some paint apps on it. Like I said, some golds and some blacks and silver. So I think it looks good. You can take the lightsaber out, and they've gotten a lot better about the blades being easier to remove and put on, and you can just kind of hang it off of his belt there. It is very loose, though. If you give him a shake, it's going to fall off. It doesn't really stay in as best as I would like it. It just does kind of hang there. So there's that. The figure itself, like I said, I think it's a pretty good look as far as Mark Hamill's. It's probably not the best. It still doesn't beat Dagobah Luke, I don't think. But I think it's still pretty darn good. And you can definitely see it, like, once, it maybe not straight on so much, but I still think it's pretty solid. But when you start turning him, it definitely looks a lot more like Mark Hamill. So, really good job on this figure. I really do like it. It's, like I said, it's still to this day one of my favorites. And I think the Black Series and Hasbro did a pretty good job on this one. You can still remove, I think, the chest piece. Maybe not. Is that, maybe they glued it on? Oh, maybe you can't do that with the newer one, which means, no, I just think this is removable. No, maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. Maybe this is, let me get my, really quick for a comparison. Maybe it's just stuck, or maybe they glued it on, but you can remove this piece and you can get that later dual look. So, or the early dual look, where he's a little bit cleaner. So you can remove that chest piece on the anniversary one, but not on that one. And just a little comparison with the head sculpts. Here is Dagobah Luke. Let me get his arm out of the way. Dagobah Luke, and there is Return. I still think this one looks good because Mark Hamill did have a little bit of an older face too going into Return of the Jedi than and he was in fantastic shape. Like, he got in crazy good shape for it. But I still think this beats it out just a little bit. There's something a little bit more with the paint details on the lips, around the lip too. But still a solid figure. I think if you don't have Jedi Luke, I think this is a really, really, really good option for you. This is another one of my favorite looking Lukes. I know technically he didn't have a glove, but I always just pictured him with a glove. And this, I actually put this belt on. This, I made that custom, that belt, just to give him a little bit more oomph instead of being just a straight up repaint for Dagobah Luke. But yeah, we'll do this with the Mandalorian Luke. This is definitely a better head sculpt here, I would say. This actually looks like CGI Luke. Hair is a little bit different sculpt here, and different bodies entirely. I mean, he's got more of like a gi here, where he's got more of like almost like a flight suit, which looks pretty cool. Another custom I kind of threw together, and it's Shadows of the Empire Luke, and you can see here's the original sculpt from Wave. Oh God, what was that? I think it was Orange Label Jedi Luke. But you can see the huge differences. The sculpt, I think, is still there. It's just the paint apps weren't quite there yet. So I always use this as my in-between. Plus, he had a blaster belt at the time. So there's my Shadows of the Empire Luke. So there you go. So I have spent a lot of time on Luke Skywalker, and I just went ahead and said that he is the least anticipated figure probably out of this pack, which is, true, but, still a solid figure. So here is Return of the Jedi Luke Skywalker. His head can swivel at a full 360 rotation if you needed to. His head can look up, pretty decent range of motion, definitely better than Mara Jade's. But she's got hair and a hood for both her head sculpts, so those get in the way. He can look up and down about that far. Let's see if you got drive. Oh, we got some gobbles up in here. He is on a double ball peg joint, which is ball peg in the neck and then ball peg on the head. He can tilt side to side, get that kind of confused dog look, which is great. Arms go up about that far. They go down, full 360 rotation in the arm. He does have a butterfly joint, which is there. And if I feel like the more you move it, the more movement you get. So that's nice. He does have a single jointed elbow, but it's way more than 90 degrees. And I think that is very nice. So I don't mind double or single joints as long as they get the range of motion that you would have or need. So I think he does that in spades. Swivel at the wrist. He does have a vertical hinge joint on this side and a vertical hinge joint on that side. So it really helps to kind of cinch up on the lightsaber with both vertical hinge joints. He does have a waist swivel, so you can swivel that waist. No diaphragm joint or anything like that because it would break up the sculpt of the torso here. But he can swivel and he can pivot and do all that fun stuff, all that rotations right there. No drop downs, but we do have the splits, and I think that's good enough for the splits for Luke. He does throw some high kicks in Return of the Jedi, but it's fine. Feet go forward, or feet. I did it again. Legs go forward, leg goes back. Like I said, there's the splits, upper thigh swivel. He does have a single jointed knee, but that's pretty much it. And I mean, if you look at the human anatomy, how many people can take their heel and touch their own rear end with it just by pushing their leg back? You can't even do that in reality. So, it's fine. I think this is perfectly adequate. Swivel at the knee as well. No boot swivel because you got the swivel at the knee, but he does pointy toey, pointy heely, And he does have ankle pivot and 2 peg holes. So that's it for Luke. And moving on, we'll go to Mara Jade next. This was another one where I was kind of like, oh, okay, well, I get why she's in the pack, but you know, a lot of it is a re-release. And then when I saw the extra head, I was like, oh, not a re-release, new head, which is kind of funny because the Heir to the Empire, Mara Jade, the specialty box Mara Jade that came out, she actually had this head on the cover art, but didn't come with this head, which was weird. So that's quite odd that she would not come with that head sculpt, but it's nice that we have it now, and I would have thought that she would have came with it. As far as that goes, let me dig into my goodies here, and I'll show you the extra head and little shawl piece or cloak piece. This is the piece that you can put on her if you want to have her hood down, and you simply just pop it off just like that. She is on the old Jaina Solo body from 2016, I believe, or 2017. And then you could just put the shawl on. And if you want to have her pose without it, you can. Like I said, it's removable. Everything is removable on her, so that's pretty nice to be able to have that. But here's the original look for her. I still like this face sculpt quite a bit. I still think it looks pretty good. And, you know, we never got a live-action Mara Jade. I know George was never a big fan of Mara Jade just because, you know, Luke shouldn't... He's supposed to be, like, essentially, a Jedi. He's not supposed to have temptation or attachments and stuff like that, and I get that. But, you know, Luke was starting his own new Jedi Order, and I think a part of it, you know, makes sense that Luke would have children. Anakin had children and was still a great Jedi. But, you know, unfortunate that I guess George never liked it. The idea of her, at least. But I thought she was always pretty cool, so I always dug her. I like the the purple lightsaber. Pretty cool. She does come with the same blaster as Jaina Solo, same body essentially too. So the boots, everything is the same. You can still see the pinned joints because it's an older body. But this is actually one of my favorites, and I think they really nailed that Jaina Solo body as well. So, and she does actually have old school articulation too, where she's got a crunch down way down below, which they never reused that in further iterations of anybody. And then she's got the diaphragm joint up top. So pretty cool. And you can remove the blade. And if you want to have it dangle, you can have it dangle right there. So that's pretty cool. I like that quite a bit. And taking a look at the hilt. Hilt looks really good. There's a little bit of black paint on the bottom. Or the top of the hilt. Excuse me. Looks good. And like I said, this is same thing with even Jaina Solo. I think this looks really good. Very well done. So, and she can holster her blaster as well. So no issues there. There you go. And if you want to pop the head back on, which I think I might do. I might keep the other head on just because we didn't get this head before. So, and it's nice to have that variety, you know. A little bit more variety makes it go a long way. And I might actually have her kind of, you know, hanging out, chilling with her a little bit more neutral in this. Maybe she's, you know, on an adventure somewhere. But she's got her hilt at the side and then her blaster at the side there. Looks really good. So, as far as her articulation does go, the head can swivel with the shawl or the kind of, I don't know what this technical term would be, the hood on. We'll just call it that. But, yeah, looks really good. Nice swivel there. A little bit hindered, obviously, due to that. But if you push it, you can get her to turn a little bit more. So it's a little bit more pliable. It's going to push the harness out of the way a little bit. Arms go up. They go down, full 360 rotation in the arm, single bend at the elbow, swivel at the elbow. We've got a lateral hinge joint on this side and a vertical hinge joint on this other side, so she does have a nice pistol gripping hand. And then swivels at both wrists, no jive turkeys with neither head either. She does have a really good range of motion in that diaphragm joint. And she can swivel very fluidly, which is great. She can crunch forward. She can crunch back. She has no waist swivel, clearly. Feet go forward and feet go back, or legs go back, feet. No drop downs or anything like this. This is an older body. But she can do the splits about that far. It's acceptable, I think. You can still get her into kicks, and she would be kicking and punching and stuff. So upper thigh swivel. She does have a double jointed knee, which gets really good range of motion there. No boot swivel or anything like that, but she can point the toe. Let's get her pointing her toe here. A little bit. There we go. And then point the heel right there. And then ankle pivot, 2 peg holes at the bottom of her feet, and a partridge in a pear tree. Moving on, let's go to Luke. We went from Luke to Luke. And like I said, this is probably, this was a big deal for me. I really like this head sculpt. It is creepy. He looks like he smelled a horrible fart. But, you know, I love it. I absolutely love it. And he does also come with not just what you see there, but he also comes with a cloak that you can fit over him and really get that artwork where he kind of enters or makes his big appearance, I should say. And he's got his cloak on. It does puff up a little bit, and I think that's just due to the stitching, the double stitching, I should say the bunched up single stitching here for the cloak. They still haven't quite got the cloaks. They've gotten better with kind of stitching the sides and the back down. But I definitely think they're on their way to doing better. And so I'll commend them for trying. I mean, they're still trying. They could just give you that puffy mess that they gave, like, what was it? Walmart exclusive Luke all those years ago. But it is a blue color, which is really nice. And that's pretty much kind of the tint that he had. Let's get his hands all unloosened here. So as far as his body goes, and sorry I alluded to it earlier, but as far as his body does go, he is kind of a Frankenstein. He's got a few different things going for him as far as different bodies go. So if you wanted to make your own Luke, you could make your own with this recipe. So you will need this head probably, unless you're going to use a different Mark Hamill head or whatever you're going to do. But I think this head really helps sell the figure. But also I like the kind of throw together that they did here. This is, I believe, in episode 2, Obi-Wan Kenobi, upper torso. And I think these are the arms from Obi-Wan Kenobi, specifically this Obi-Wan Kenobi. So it is not the same torso, because you can see the sculpt is different for the shirt. But when we get to the cuffs and everything, it's the arms are definitely the same. Actually, you know what? I want to say, yeah. No, these might be, these arms, maybe it's just an optical illusion, just because, yeah, it's the same arms as this Obi-Wan Kenobi. So there you go. With that, it is the same arms, confirmed. And then the tunic skirt piece is also from episode 2, possibly episode 1. That could be what it's from also. And then the legs are Dagobah Luke. So it's not too bad. I mean, if you have those figures, I mean, all of those figures don't go for crazy amounts of money. So if you didn't want to buy the 4-pack and feel like it's a hostage pack just to get Luke, you don't have to. But I think the price of the 4-pack is actually pretty good. I mean, under $100. I thought this was going to be like $120, to be honest with you. But being at under $90, I think this not bad at all. So, but if so facto you wanted to make your own, that's pretty much the recipe. So, as far as Luke's head goes, I think this is, like I said, a really creepy, lovely, creepy, evil looking head. Fantastic. Fantastic. And I always loved that he was made from the severed hand of the actual Luke Skywalker. I think that's hysterical. Hysterical in a good way, not a I'm laughing at it. Hysterical. Here's the back of the figure. Really good. I like the different shade of brown that they went for the, it's almost like an olive drab / tan, like a, not really tan, I guess more muted, like greenish, tannish color for the most of the body. A very Jedi look. And then the nice brown boots from Dagobah Luke. But very nicely done. I very much do like this figure. And then as far as, let's get him standing here. And attention. And we'll put his cloak on. And the cloak does sit on him better when he's kind of just, you know, staring at you creepily. Oops, knocking stuff over, knocking the little generators over. But it does sit a little bit better when he's just kind of standing neutral, is what I was trying to say. A little bit of water might help this too. If you soak this in water, maybe the cloth will settle a little bit more and you can get a little bit more of a pinched look, as opposed to this is still puffing up just a little bit. But still, I think it's a nice cloak. Okay, as far as Luke's articulation goes, actually, you know what? Before I get to that, let me just show the hilt. Oops, sorry, Luke. It's pretty much the Anakin Luke hilt. Some gold paint on there, silver and black. And then you can remove this from the hilt. Let's get that. Oh my God, that's really in there. Okay. This might be an older hilt, but you can peg it onto his belt, just like so. So if you wanted to have some storage, there you go. As far as his articulation does go, head can swivel at a full 360 rotation. Not the best range of motion. I want to say Jedi Luke still having the best range of motion in the heads. He is on a double ball peg, so ball peg. But he can swivel. Let's see if he's got jive turkeys. Yes, he does. Jive turkeys there. Arms go up. Arms go down. He does have a butterfly joint, which is really nice. Great job on the butterfly joint. Single bend at the elbow. He does have a swivel at the elbow. He does have a wrist swivel. It's very hindered due to these kind of cuffs that he's got here. They're sculpted nicely, but they get in the way. It's unfortunate. And he does have a vertical hinge joint, but it's pretty much useless. And same thing goes on this side. This one's much worse than that one, but he can still hold his saber, as you could see in the beginning of the video. He does have a waist swivel, and it's on a ball peg for the waist, so he can kind of tilt side to side and crunch back a little bit. He can crunch forward just a little bit. He can do the splits about that far. I wonder if he has drop downs. I don't believe he does, though. Yeah, it's very hindered with the kicks. He's not getting the best, and I think that's because you got different body parts kind of mixed and matched together. But his feet, I keep doing that. His legs go forward, the legs go back. Upper thigh swivel. He has a single jointed knee. Good job there on the single jointed knee swivel. And then pointy toe, pointy heel, not really. And then ankle pivot, 2 peg holes. And lastly, let's bring in the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Joruus C'baoth, the evil clone of Joruus C'baoth. So he comes with the lightning hands, as you can see here. I really do quite like these, and I think it's very fitting that he has these because he doesn't really use his lightsaber, if or at all, during that whole story. You see it a few times depicted, but it's pretty much just kind of hanging off his belt, kind of hung up. This is the lightsaber that he does come with. Let me shed a little bit more light on the subject here. I'm not seeing anything too crazy about it. He's got a couple activators right here. It's pretty much just like a grayish, a dark charcoal gray plastic for his hilt. And like I said, you can remove the blade. So there's that. And then you can put it back. But there's nowhere really, like I said, to put it on him. There's no loop or anything like that. And I think that's just due to the sculpt. So you either have it in his hands or you don't. But I think I'm going to go with the lightning hands for him. I think it just makes more sense. He was pretty much just a force lightning user anyway. Removing the hands, as I'm trying to do off screen, just because they're a little bit tight. It's a very tight fit. And putting the regular hands in, he's got, I believe, and this is, like I said, a very tight fitment. He's got a gripping hand on this side, and then he's got this trigger hand on the other, which is probably reused from like Dagobah Luke or a plethora of other figures, because that's, for the most part, what we get for Legends figures is a lot of reuse. I don't know how much reuse is here. If you checked out my live stream, I'm pretty sure I've definitely seen these legs before. It's probably from a Jedi figure. But I don't know. There's some unique strap sculpting here, but then there's also these double jointed hinged knees. So it's not pinless or anything like that. Or pinned knees, excuse me. So you can see the pins there. But he does have his Jesus sandals on, or his Moses sandals. Jesus or Moses, pick your poison. The upper torso is a new sculpt. He is shirtless. I am really hoping that we get a Malicos based off of this figure. This screams like Malicos custom to me, because under this is a separate, shirtless piece right here. I don't know. Maybe this is a Luke's the poncho wearing farm boy Luke underneath there, and maybe these are his arms too. I don't know, but I don't know. I think it works. I think making a Malicos out of this, you could definitely use some pieces and some parts to make that. But hopefully we get him in the future. I think we're getting... Who are we getting? Oh, God, I can't think of his name. The other big bad from Jedi Survivor, the evil one-armed dark Jedi, whatever you want to call him. But anyway, Joruus here, as I'm going way off on a tangent here, and this has gone on long enough now. Yeah, I like the lightning effects for him. I think they're pretty well painted, as much as they can be. I mean, as far as lightning coming out of fingers, good job. Like I said, the lightsaber hilt is kind of basic, but he doesn't really use it too much. So there you go. He does have his pimp chain right here, which is actually, I believe, a Jedi medallion on a chain. The head sculpt, I think, is really the hugest selling point. It would have been cool to get him maybe with one more head, with a screaming head, but they're not going to put that much budget into stuff like this. So he does have cloth goods, which I think sits well. It looks natural. I like it. And then mixed with the nice soft plastic, which is really nice too. I like the kind of puffy cuffs. I guess you can call those cuffs. And then the upper torso piece. Here's the back of the figure again. Just kind of trying to give you guys as much shots at the detail as you can. A light wash might bring out some more of the sculpt, but I think it looks pretty good the way it is. It doesn't look or feel like a big chunk of brown plastic. So that's nice. As far as his articulation goes, his head can turn, and it is on a double peg joint, ball peg joint. So ball peg there, ball peg up top at the stem. So he can look up a little bit. He can look down a little bit. He can pivot side to side. Confused dog. And then, well, we got jive turkeys up in here. Oh, arms go up, down. And then he does have the nice butterfly joints. I think Mara Jade is the only one that doesn't have butterfly joints in the pack. And then we do have a single bend at the elbow. We have a swivel at the elbow. We have a hinge at the wrist that is vertical. And then we have another vertical on the other side. And then we have 2 lateral hinge joints for the branch lightning hands. He does have a swivel at the wrist. Same thing with the lightning hands. They swivel as well. He does have a pivot at the torso and a swivel at the torso. And I think he's got a diaphragm joint. Yes, he does have a separate diaphragm joint underneath. So you can get him. I mean, it's going to be very limited due to the sculpting of the shirt, top shirt part. But you can still move it around and get it going. Legs go forward very nicely. Let's get those legs kicking out like a rocket. Hi-yo. So really good range of motion going forward. Pretty good range of motion going back too. He does have an upper thigh swivel, a double jointed knee. And then we have no boot swivel. You still have the upper thigh swivel. He can point the toe. He can point the heel. He has ankle pivot and 2 peg holes at the bottom of his feet and partridge in a pear tree. I think this is still solid. I think it makes sense for what we got. And yeah, I mean, I don't think there's really anything left. What am I talking like friggin' Yoda here? I don't think there's anything left to really say about it. I'm just going to go ahead and give the verdict. It's definitely a 2 thumbs up and a full seal of approval. I would definitely go pick this up if you are a Legends fan remotely. If you're not a Legends fan and you don't really care about expanded universe stuff, then you could just completely skip it. But I think if you appreciate the Thrawn trilogy and you like it, I think this is something that you'll appreciate on its own. So, but yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Are you guys going to get this? Do you already have it? Are you going to pass on it? Let me know in the comments below. Please do. I love a beautiful, nice discourse. It's always healthy to have, and we're all collectors ourselves, so why not chat a little bit? So let me know in the comments below what you guys think, and let me know how I did with this review. Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Did I do great? Did I do horrible? Leave a comment, leave a like, leave a dislike. Yeah, be sure to subscribe if you haven't and you want more content like this. And I will see you guys on the flip side.